Easy now.
Easy now.
Easy now.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Drive Talk podcast. And we're at a pretty special venue. We're doing we've got a live show and a guest at the same time. Every time we do one of these, we make it more and more complicated.
We're pushing the limits here.
But we're joined by a very cool special guest. No, that was you. We're talking about you.
Oh.
Vanessa Ruck, everyone. The girl on a bike. Amazing superstar on a bike. It's great to have you on. Also, Michelin brand ambassador.
Indeed. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure.
So we are here at the most incredible venue, Tobacco Dock, surrounded by amazing bikes. But the most amazing bike in the show we can't see from here, can we?
Oh, we're talking about Big Buddy, aren't we?
We're talking about your bike.
Yeah, so my KTM 450 Rally replica is here. He's over by the Talks stage.
Yeah.
And he's the bike I just survived the Morocco Desert Challenge on.
Wow. Okay, so Joe and I were at the Dakar this year, and we in a previous episode of the podcast, actually, when we both went to Dakar, we thought we'd be really into the cars. And then the bikes came along, and we were like, these guys are completely nuts. And you're one of them. Maybe not Dakar, but you do that enduro riding through the dunes. How on earth did you get into that? Tell us about it.
It's been one of those very unusual journeys. I didn't wake up and go, I want to go and do some of the most extreme desert racing there is in the world.
Yeah.
It actually honestly started with me being hit by a car back in 2014, and I wasn't a motorcycle rider.
Oh, wow.
And during my mental and physical recovery, which has led to me having 7 surgeries over 7 years, reconstructed right shoulder, right hip, I live and manage chronic pain. During that journey, I discovered motorcycles, and then I think it's safe to say it escalated. It started with a little bike to commute on. Bearing in mind, I got diagnosed with lots of mental health disorders, including depression, fear of the road, change disorder. Fear of the road doesn't exactly lend you to getting on a motorcycle. And no, my mum wasn't pleased with this decision. But through the journey, I started commuting, and then it was a big, comfortable Harley-Davidson Cruiser, which is kind of like a sofa with an engine. Did about 25,000 miles around Europe. And then as I was kind of getting fitter, my pre-adrenaline obsession flame inside was like, how can I combine my new love for motorcycles and get the adrenaline, the extreme sports, the burn, the fight? And then I thought, well, why don't we go off-road? And I was actually bedbound after my first hip surgery when I came up with the idea to get a dirt bike. And it took 5 months till I could even sit on it. But it was there. And then something that is probably similar with cars, to be fair, they breed, right? You have one in the garage, and then suddenly you'll be like, well, we need 2 in the garage, and then there's 3, and then before you know it, you've got like a little black dress and a little black dress, and
a bigger garage.
And a bigger garage. Yeah. I mean, when I got the first bike, it lived in the dining room. I didn't have a garage.
Wow.
That's wicked.
Yeah. And so it's not been a case of I woke up and went, let's go and do an 8. My next race is a 14-day. 6,500 miles. It's hopefully not going to kill me, but it's going to push me beyond my limits, that's for sure.
That's even further than the Dakar, isn't it? 6,500 miles. I think Dakar's like 4 or something.
Don't know the exact numbers, but it's the equivalent, but without being the Dakar. It's a serious race.
And what support do you have? Are you like one of the monomoto, do everything yourself, or do you have a support team?
Apparently I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. So I do a lot of work on my own bikes. That's something that I'm kind of very keen to do, is learn, understand the mechanics. I wouldn't be able to afford what I do if I didn't do some of the spanning on my own bike.
Yeah.
But in those kind of environments, when you've been on the bike all day and you get into the bivouac, which has moved, and you've got to put your tent up, refuel yourself, your body, your food. Yeah, I have a mechanic. So I use Desert Rose Racing. They'll be coming and supporting me, moving my kit every day from plat A to B to C to D across the 14 days, and spanning my bike at night.
So one of the questions we were quite keen to ask one of the riders at Dakar, but you watch the technique when you're going through the sand, you're standing up on the pegs all day long. And what kind of physical training or preparation do you have to do before you can do a race like that? Is it just time on the bike, or is it lots of gym work?
I honestly haven't been to a gym since before my accident. I used to go to the gym all the time, and it was part of my sort of routine. My fitness now is very much lifestyle. As much time riding the bike as possible. There's a sad reality of, to be bike fit, you need to be on a bike, because there's not much gym stuff that can prepare you for that kind of grip, that kind of holding on, that kind of every muscle in your body is in use. A lot of people think, oh, you've got an engine, it's easy. And it's like, have you even tried walking in sand? Like, put yourself on a motorbike that doesn't even stand up on its own.
Yeah.
It's incredibly physical. So I do a lot of e-mountain biking for fitness. With my reconstructed hip, the only way of being able to get back out cycling is a support with an e-bike. I chop logs in the garden. I do loads of DIY. I'm very physically active in life, and I spend a lot of time on the bike.
Yeah.
But I think actually the mental preparation and the nutritional preparation is huge as well. You've got to expect to have to pick yourself up off the ground over and over again. Maybe not literally. You do have big offs, but you find your limits and you have to keep going because you're in the middle of the desert. And I remember moments like on the top of a dune it's 52 degrees heat, the peak temperature in Morocco. 40% of the moto category finished. I did, so I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
But I remember a moment on the top of this dune, I crested and stopped at the peak for a couple of moments, looked around, and there's nothing in any direction. Just me, my piece of paper, which is what I'm navigating off with little symbols and compass bearings. And the only way out of there is to keep going.
Yeah. Wow.
You
And
can't quit.
that was the race you were on recently. Was it earlier
I
this
got
year?
back about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think my energies are about 80% now. The recovery from it, I think about 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day is what I'm burning.
Jesus.
It takes some recovering.
Oh wow.
So I do quite a lot of sort of endurance sports. I've just done a half Ironman and long cycles and stuff, and fueling when you're doing that is really important. What's your fueling and hydration strategy when it's 52 degrees in the desert and you're riding a motorbike and you're out there for 6-7 hours?
Number one, just try not to die. Focus on that.
So I find that's a really good strategy generally. Yeah.
Just generally.
Keep breathing.
So for this race, I discovered something called Tailwind, which is an electrolyte carbohydrate energy powder that goes in my water. And so I was able to have 2,200 calories just in my camelbacks
Wow.
each day. So without even eating anything,
Yeah.
because you'll know from doing these kind of endurance things, you actually have to eat till you feel sick.
Yeah.
And it's really hard taking on that number of calories. So that was game changing for me. I used to use energy gels.
Yep.
And so you'd be riding along, I'd have a couple of wobbles and go, no, I'm flagging, stop, have an energy gel. And it takes 30 seconds. Pull over, whip it out your pocket, gel, keep going. And then 5 minutes later, you get that kick, right? But because it's in my water and I'm sipping it the whole time, my energy was like this. It was amazing.
Wow.
And then eating protein bars, the bivouac, you take a box of food with you. So I have stuff like beef jerky, loads of nuts, protein shakes, collagen, all of that kind of stuff. And you're just trying to consume as many calories as possible and drink. I think the biggest day was probably about 16 liters of water. To keep hydration, because you are sweating. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's the most unglamorous thing ever. You're having to stop to pee. I'm really jealous of the guys because they can wear a little condom with a pipe that goes down their trouser leg and they can just pee riding along.
No, really?
But I can't do that because I've got...
a shiwi.
Well, no, because it would be really uncomfortable on your leg. We're going straight into the details. But it was actually...
Let's deep dive into weeing on a bike.
Yeah, I did actually have to pee myself in this last one. It was 50k from the end on the final day. I had 50k left of 2,500, right? And I just had 70k from the end. I had a massive off, airbag deployed, and a huge boulder basically crashed into my left pelvis. It's still tender now, that throw boozing, and it's 3 weeks ago. But I got back on the bike. I took my emergency painkillers that you just have because I knew my adrenaline was going to wear out. But I was like, I am making the finish line. And then 50k to the end, I started to need the loo. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to manage pulling my trousers down right now. I'm in so much pain. So I was like, I'm just going to have to go. And I don't know whether it was a new high or low in my racing career, but it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
At least it was the last day.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to put your leathers on the next day.
There's no leathers, but yeah.
And time saving.
It was time saving.
Yeah.
I mean, I could maybe do it again, but you pee probably anywhere from 5 to 8 times a day generally. So it would be a lot of pee in my trousers. This is so glamorous. Should we move on?
Yes.
I mean, desert rally is not glamorous.
Can I just go back to what you said when you said I had a massive off and the airbag deployed?
Yes, so
Is this
compulsory in a lot of these rallies is a full body armor, but it has an air vest inside.
Right. Okay.
And I do not know the hocus pocus stuff that goes on inside it, but it knows you're going to hit the ground before you do. And it will deploy to about 700 PSI.
Yeah. I used to event.
You end up like that. You end up like bib for a second.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the days in the rally, I actually had an allergic reaction to something, and I pretty much did look like that. My eyes like swelled up. I could barely keep my eyes open. I was like, I'm going to the start line. I'm not quitting just because I've got another reaction. Anyway, it's really brutal, and I'm selling it. Everyone, you should try rally. It's really good fun.
So where do I sign up?
Yeah.
So on a serious note, so you're laid up, injured. You think, I know I'm going to start doing desert racing on an off-road bike. Where do you go from there to finding yourself at the top of a sand dune in 50 degrees? How long was that journey? And
I got my first off-road bike about 6.5 years ago, and I've had 4 more hip surgeries since that time. It's been... The human body is incredibly complex, and it's been certainly a journey, and I mean, I still live in managed chronic pain. We've got me to a point where I can adapt, I can cope, I do a lot of mindfulness, and I'm sort of learning my parameters. I couldn't do a race without painkillers, but I'm okay with that. My mental health, if I sat at home on the sofa, would be far worse. So how did that end up? Started with some green laning, then I kind of tried a little hare and hound, and then I met someone called Paul Bolton, who is a professional hard enduro rider, and he was like, you should do Valleys Extreme, which is kind of a notorious hard enduro event in the UK. And I kind of joked him, I mean, it's got extreme in the name, I'm clearly going to die, this is ridiculous. But on WhatsApp, he persuaded me. Eventually, I'm on the start line of this race. Where that wall is, 20 meters in front of me on the start line is a thigh-high round plastic drainage pipe. Just round the corner is a skip. You got to ride through on a motorbike. Then there's a rock garden, and I'm on the start line. I was actually in tears. I was like, I'm going to die. My husband's on the start line as well. And I'm like, Alex, we're on a Ocado intercom, so you're going to have to go over the drainage pipe and then just get off your bike and then help me get over it.
Yeah.
And there's crowds everywhere. I wanted the earth to open up and just take me anywhere. Anyway, I nailed it straight over the drainage pipe, absolutely bossed it. My husband's like, yeah, in the intercoms, go around through the skip, over the rock garden. I'm overtaking people, and I managed a silver finish, which means I did a lap and a half. So I was really proud of that. Now, I'm a big believer in goal setting through my recovery. Like when I was bedbound, getting that off-road bike, every day when I was hurting so much and I couldn't find the energy to do my rehab, that bike was sat there going, hi.
Yep.
Remember what you're trying to work towards.
Yeah.
And goal setting is huge.
Yep.
So my husband and I decided we'd sign up for Red Bull Romaniacs. And before we even got home from that race, which was a 3-hour drive, we'd signed up. There was no way I had the skill, the bike, anything to do Red Bull Romaniacs, but I had a year to figure that out. And I think that's kind of just how it's started. I think
how it spiraled out of control.
Yeah, it escalated. Like, honestly.
I like setting goals, but I don't end up doing desert racing.
No.
4 years ago, I was scared of a curb.
Yeah.
You know, you're on a motorbike and you've got to go up or down a curb. My heart would go, terrifying. But every time you push your comfort zone and you do the curb and you do the curb again, suddenly the curb's not scary. And then we're like, oh, let's go over a stick. Let's go over a log. Let's try a bank. Let's try a bigger hill. And you just keep pushing your comfort zone.
Yep.
And normalizing it. And suddenly you're in a desert on a sand dune.
So I get the impression from what you're saying there is what you push your limits to in life with your sport is like almost a distraction from like you said with your mental health. It keeps you occupied, keeps you busy, mentally busy, and focused on whatever the next thing is that then helps you with everything else. Is that basically, and that's why you're so extreme, because you're just going to the top. You're going level 11 all the time.
I think that's fair to say. When I have days where I'm really quiet, my hip pain will overwhelm me.
Right.
Because I haven't got the distraction. And I know that when I get off my bike or out of the car, because I've just started doing car rallying as well,
yes,
my hip pain will hit me like a freight train.
Right.
But the whole time I'm on that bike, I am so mentally engaged following the roadbook navigation. I'm physically at the extreme, surviving whatever it is, reading the terrain, keeping the bike up, fighting, racing, that you don't have the capacity to focus on anything else but that. And that makes me feel so alive. I mean, it's incredible.
It's just as well we did the Iron Man episode a few weeks ago, because otherwise it would have been a bit of a come down after speaking to Vanessa.
Well, the thing is though, there's some real parallels. The goal setting thing, I think is such an important motivator for anybody. If you want to, I don't know, improve your mental well-being, your physical well-being, whatever it might be, you can think about it as much as you like. But until you set a goal, and you've got no choice then but to work towards it, and that goal might, in your case, it was going to go and do some massively extreme desert racing. Someone might be running a park run.
Yeah, it doesn't
matter.
Or
what
even going for a 10-minute walk in the morning.
Yeah,
like.
Go pick up the milk on foot.
Yeah,
but I think if you write it down, if it's a date in the diary, you're then accountable to yourself.
Yep.
And you know that come that date, you need to be prepared and you need to be ready, and that's what gets you out of bed in the morning. And for me, I love hearing stories like this, because it's anybody can do it.
Anybody can.
And I was listening to you talk to someone yesterday, and you were like, I'm just a normal person. I just set a goal, decided I was going to do something, and anybody can do it. And I love that.
I do a lot of school talks, so I will go to any school in the UK for free and do motivational assemblies, talks with the children. It's kind of my way of trying to turn the trauma I've gone through into a positive. And I'll always say to them, all these people you see in the newspaper or online, in movies, they are just normal humans like us.
Yeah.
But they have set goals and they put time in and the work in to make it happen. And I love what you just said about the fact that if you've got an idea, it's just a dream. But if you write it down and start working out what the steps are to get to it, it's not a dream, it's going to be reality.
Yeah.
And you'll make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
What are you going to do?
Well, he's picking up a bike tomorrow, so I reckon the next time, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I reckon next year we'll be at Dakar and we'll watch you. I'll stand in the bivouac and watch you two do Dakar. How's that?
That's not going to happen. I like setting goals, but that's just, no, that's never going to happen. But I think, can we just talk a little bit about your bike and your machine? Because although, neither of us are we don't claim to know that much about motorbikes, but I watch a lot of MotoGP, watch a lot of motocross as well. I'm just about to pick up a adventure bike tomorrow.
Amazing.
So where does your bike, what's it called and how would you describe it? Tell us about the tyres as well, maybe.
He's called Big Buddy.
Yep.
So I have my hard enduro bike is Buddy, and I really like the name Buddy because when you're out there, you got to be friends with your bike, especially when they're trying to be a dead elephant in sand dunes. Come on, Buddy. So he's Big Buddy because he's much bigger than my little hard enduro bike. He's a KTM 450 rally replica, so he's a full factory rally bike, the sort you could just go and do Dakar on tomorrow.
Wow.
He weighs about 170-ish kilos, 33-litre fuel tank, and
That's a lot.
Fantastic suspension. I run him on Michelin mousses and tyres because there's no way I want a flat.
Wait,
especially
what's a
on the desert.
mousse?
Good question. So it's the easiest way to describe it is a solid foam insert that goes inside the Michelin tyre, and it means that you can't get a puncture.
Okay.
They are less favourable with heat, so they're not good for road use.
Yep.
Like continual friction and heat. So you have to make sure that they're lubricated with the right lube.
Yep.
Right lube.
It's all coming out on this one.
That's going to make a good short.
Yeah. Keep going.
Lube. Talking about tyres.
Rubber and lube.
Rubber and lube.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I was talking about. Just
You're talking about foam and rubber and stuff in the tyres. So no punctures in the tyre.
no punctures.
Okay.
It's the reliability. When you think about the fact that you're going off into the desert for, I think my longest ever day on a rally has been about 700k. Typically, you're looking about 400-500k.
How far can you go without refueling, without 30 odd litres?
Probably about 250, I would have thought. I've never really fully
So you
pushed
on a
that.
big stage, there'd be a mid-stage refuel.
You meet a wagon in the middle of the desert, and you have fuel and you keep going.
Wow.
And it's a compulsory neutralization stage, so you can't try and make up time by being really quick.
Okay.
It's normally 20 minutes or half an hour, and if you leave early, you get penalties. And that's also one of the organization's way of looking after you, because they will watch you. You have to normally drink at least a litre of water. You have to take on some food.
Good.
There's always medics there to keep an eye on you. The safety in these rallies is huge. Like, for example, the rally I just got back from, unfortunately, 2 people haven't come home. It's a very dangerous game.
And that was due to the heat and the exhaustion, and I guess your brain stops working, you don't know where you are, and then all of a sudden it's just too late, I guess.
Yeah, one was a crash.
Okay.
In a side-by-side, and one was heat exhaustion. And in the Tunisia Desert Challenge last year, I actually had to be heli-backed out after... I had 7 hours in 45 degrees heat, no shade, because I burnt my clutch out. Bad pilot.
Wow.
And that was the day after I had a night in the sand dunes, because my electrics on my bike went, and it was just like no start.
Wow.
And so it sounds really romantic, right? You're in the dunes with a campfire, you got shooting stars. I did actually see a couple. No, it's terrifying. And I spent the last half an hour of light gathering anything I could find that would burn without losing sight of my bike, banging on them dunes. And at this point, I'd been riding for 11 and a half hours. So I was absolutely toasted. And I was 6K from the end of the dunes.
Wow.
And my electrics went. But anyway, I made this campfire, and I was really proud of myself in my mindfulness. I was okay. If I analyze the situation, I've got fire.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get cold. The animals aren't going to come near me because I've got fire. I'm not on my own. It's not going to get dark. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I just lay there, had a little nap. Every so often I'd open my eyes and look at a shooting star. Then I'd realize where I am, freak out, close my eyes again.
Did you
Keep
talk to
fire
Buddy?
going. That wasn't with Buddy. I was on a previous bike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't
No,
your
Buddy
buddy.
wouldn't do that to me.
No.
No.
Of course.
Are you listening, Buddy? Don't you ever do that to me.
It's
Buddy.
like Wilson in Castaway.
It's funny. I always I name all my bikes and my cars all have names. I always have done.
Yes.
Because it gives them a personality. And I get so much grief online for that, because I call my Mini Ruby. And like, you're Sado, I'm like, no. Once you've got a name, it's got a personality and it's got a character. And
Yeah.
and you get really fond of
Ride
them.
on lawnmower has a name.
Which is?
Nibbler.
Nibbler.
I love it.
That's brilliant.
Amazing.
My Bowler Defender rally car, big boy, because he's blinking huge.
Hold on a minute.
2.3 tons.
Hold on a minute. Sorry. Your Bowler Defender rally car, drop that one into the conversation. Tell us more about that, because I've been in one of those and they're amazing things.
Yeah. Okay, so I was in the bivouac, Rally de Maroc, about 18 months ago. This is the first big rally I've ever done, second time in the desert. And I met a guy called Dave Marsh, and he was there supporting on a privateer, just chatting away, talking about the fact that I was there and I was terrified and I was a rabbit in the headlights and I'm doing this rally, and a Bowler Wildcat went past, like in queue 2-year-old Vanessa to come out, and I'm like, VA. I mean, I literally had wallpaper of Bowler Wildcats when I was like a teenager, and he must have been like, who the hell is this girl? What's just happened? Turns out he's like the main guy at Bowler. So he remembers this random girl in the desert getting just lost from the conversation. I mean, when I then came back to the conversation, I don't even think I knew what we were talking about. Worse than Lalube just now. And just before Christmas, he calls me up and he's like, hey, do you remember me? We're doing all this. How do you fancy doing a round of the UK Rally Series in a Bowler Defender? And I was just like, pinch me. If I had forearms, I'd put them all up.
Yeah.
And then kind of carried on the conversation, and then it's kind of escalated into the whole UK Rally Series, and it's absolutely incredible. But it's mental, because I'm used to being on a motorbike.
Yeah.
I literally turned around and was like, well, how do you even know I can drive? And he was like, well, you can ride a motorbike on your own in the desert, doing road navigation yourself. I'm pretty sure you can drive a car. I've got to get used to that, drive a car.
Driving.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fair. Okay, but when you're then in the car and you've got the navigator navigating and you've got a corner that you can't see round, your natural instincts is to slow down, right? You can't see around the corner, but your navigator is going, no, it's a fast right, and your foot is going, oh, I can't see, I can't. And you've got to just trust that you are not taking that foot off the throttle, even though you can't see. And the adrenaline of that is mental.
Wow.
But the trust that you're building is. Did I even answer the question? I think I just got excited.
I mean, I get excited about anything. Bowler just make the most awesome vehicles anyway. But the fact you've got one and you actually compete in one, I'm quite jealous, to be honest.
And I've got one of the old Defender Bowlers to drive around at home. I feel like Lara Croft, but just not as cool. But I try. I try.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
I think we need to come up and visit your place. It sounds very exciting.
Let's do it. Do
Yeah.
a podcast from my garage.
Yeah.
There we go.
You could put us through the paces. Right, there's my motorbike. Let's see what you look like. There's the car.
We could put you out on the trials bikes.
Oh, yes. That's
Oh,
something.
this sounds like some entertainment.
Yes,
Collab inbound.
absolutely.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So you got a pretty busy show. You got I imagine you walk around a place like this and get stopped every 5 minutes by people wanting selfies. And
Well, we saw that last night, didn't we?
yeah, we did actually. Yeah.
It's amazing. I think I've had a pretty brutal journey over the last 9 years since my accident. I've had some of the darkest days. I don't think I realized the world could go so dark at some of those times where you're struggling with pain, you're back in bed, not even able to go to the toilet on your own. And the fact that I've been able to share my story and engage with so many people around the world, but somehow my story gives them energy.
Yeah.
And then when you meet them and they're like, oh my goodness, I saw you doing this and now I'm doing that. And then that kind of spiral of energy, them getting energy from my energy, and the fact that on my social media, sorry world, but I'm really honest, you will see me cry, you will see me tell you that I had to pee myself in a race, or the true realities of life, not just the shiny 2% of life that a lot of people share on social media. So when I actually get to meet people in person, it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Because it gives me even more energy to keep fighting on, because I have days where I want to give up.
Does it maybe make you realise the magnitude of what you've done? When you do it yourself, you probably don't realise how amazing some of the things you're doing are.
I still just feel like little me, trying my best. I still feel like I could do better and I'm letting myself down, and I don't know. No, I still just feel like little me.
But it's sorry, I was just going to say, it's interesting. I think we can all relate to this in the way that when someone comes up and says, you inspired them, it's kind of full circle, isn't it? Because like you were just saying, that's lovely to hear from you, from your side. So you've inspired them, but then they're inspiring you further by saying that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because me fighting through my pain inspired them.
Yeah.
So then me doing it again will inspire them, and it inspires me, and I'm just...
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a really...
It's energizing.
Yeah, it is in a very positive way.
And let's face it, we need more female role models in motorsport across the board anyway.
So we do.
Just to have, for a little, 12-year-old girl not really know what to do, to see you doing the things you do, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because, they need the role models to
see it as a reality. Yeah.
Yeah. When you see it's possible, you believe it's possible, and then you can imagine yourself doing it. And I think what's kind of cool is that little girls, grown girls, old girls, young girls can look at me and be like, well, if she can do it, especially for a slightly reconstructed, not superhuman that hasn't actually been riding all that long, can do it, well, maybe I can.
Yeah.
But you also get the fact that a guy can look at me and be like, well, if she could do it. That's my macho man thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I can encourage both sides.
Yeah. Although I'm sitting there going, how the hell to do that? I don't know whether I could do that. It's quite overwhelming. But
yeah, but that's what the crazy mentality is. You do Ironman, that's bonkers.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll take that.
different positions.
Yeah. Wow.
You have to run in a wetsuit.
Oh, you take the wetsuit off. Well, you will run out the sea. You don't run for very far in a wetsuit. You take the wetsuit off.
Right, whilst running. Why am I watching this?
Yeah. Well, you have something on underneath it. You have have like a triathlon suit on underneath.
I thought I just found my new spectator sport.
No. We're going back to rubber again. What's going on here? Well, we should probably let you go and see your adoring public. Are you going to go and stand by your bike, or what's the rest of the day hold for you?
I'm just going to wander around and have a look at bikes, speak to people, might go to get coffee. I don't know. I'm just here to enjoy it and absorb it.
And when's the next thing that you're working towards?
So, big race, Africa Eco Race in January, which is a Dakar level, 14 days, takes now 1,000 days. And I've already had nightmares about that.
Wow. And before you disappear, where can people find you? What's your handles, etc.?
Because I don't stay still for very long.
Physically,
physically. The Girl on a Bike.
Yes.
Or Vanessa Ruck. If you look me up on Google, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere. I'm all over the place. Although I feel like a granny on TikTok, but I try my best.
I feel like a granddad on TikTok. Yeah. Don't worry. It's lovely being with Ped because he's older than I am, so it's always I'm never the oldest.
She thought I was younger than you.
So did my parents. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. Vanessa, thanks so much for coming on.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's an amazing story.
Yeah,
amazing story.
Very inspiring for everyone, and quite mind-blowing. I've never sat here just been like,
I know.
a shot of that shot's going to have me just going,
you know the scary thing? We've got to match that now for the next half hour of chat.
I know.
Like, what are we gonna talk about that's as cool as that?
Yeah.
Maybe we should go away and Vanessa should just finish the
Just
podcast.
carry it.
Right?
Yeah. Carry it along.
Is this where you'll kick me off the sofa?
Yes.
Is there like a technique to
You
escaping?
just move your mic
Roll
to
off
that
the
side.
You probably would.
How did Vanessa die? She survived the desert and broke her neck on a sofa.
Yes, you couldn't get off the podcast. And don't forget to take your headphones off.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Lovely to have you on. Take care.
I'm not really sure how to carry on from that.
That's amazing.
It is. I mean,
I knew part of the story because we were talking last night. We were in the venue last night for a sort of preview private evening with drinks and stuff, and we had a chat, and I knew that some of the story. I had no idea. That's amazing.
Same. I mean, I've met Vanessa a couple of times and heard snippets of stories, but you can see it in her eyes and her personality.
Yeah.
How hungry she is for just pushing the limits of. I mean, it's another level. It actually scares me listening to her and watching her. I'm just like,
I know. Unreal.
Amazing. Well, we'll have to get out and watch some of that for real, and maybe try and replicate some of
it. So, mate, so we're here at the bike show, and I guess one of the things, we're both on YouTube. We're car guys, right? Although you've done quite a bit of bike stuff recently. You've just got your bike license, and you mentioned earlier you're picking up a long-termer tomorrow. So tell us about your bike or motorbike journey, because I think we've talked already about your push bike journey.
Yes. Yeah, so my motorbike journey, well, when I was a lot younger and I used to ride push bikes, I rode a little bit of motocross, but not much. Never had my motorbike license, because mum and dad, rightly so, kind of didn't want me to get one because it was dangerous, and a lot of their friends and stuff died or hurt themselves badly back in the day. And I'm kind of glad looking back on it. I had a lot of adrenaline when I was younger, and I maybe was a bit, gung-ho in cars and whatever I could get my hands on. So I think if I was on a bike, it could have ended badly. But I've always been obsessed with bikes. My favourite motorsport is MotoGP. And I love World Superbikes, British Superbikes, love it all. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago I thought to myself, I need to get myself a bike license so I can just go and enjoy it on a more chilled level. And actually Neil, who works for the PR BMW Motorrad in UK, messaged me at the beginning of last year saying, can we put you through getting your license? And so they have a BMW rider training, they call it. And it's like either 5, 6 or 7 days. And I went for the full 7 days. And you literally go and base yourself there, stay in a hotel locally, and every day it's like going back to school. The first couple of days especially, it's lots of listening and learning. And but it was wicked. I mean, I was mentally drained for the first 2 or 3 days just from learning.
Yeah.
But then I learned very quickly. I've got naturally good balance because of my biking. So I knew that I'd be okay on the bike in that sense. But it was just learning, about the brakes and the gears and all of the stuff that you need to do on the bike, looking over your shoulder all the time, because you're a target for everyone, aren't you?
Yeah. At least the gears are sequential on a bike, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And they're all quick shifter now. You don't even need to pull the clutch. Well, you let go of the clutch to pull off, and then it's just like
wicked.
Chop. So it's really good. And then a couple of months ago, I went and did an advanced riding day with the same school, just to get back to speed because it had been a while since I'd ridden. And then tomorrow I'm heading to BMW HQ, which is where we know from the cars, but obviously the bikes are based there as well. And I'm picking up a GS 1250, which is a big adventure bike, which is what I learned to ride on. And I've got that for a few months. And I just can't wait to, number one, ride it in weather like we got today.
Yeah.
During the summer months. And my plan for it is to take it down to the Alps for a couple of days and just enjoy those alpine roads on a motorbike, I think it'll be amazing. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Maybe I'll come around and pick you up one day.
Oh yeah, Tracy would be really happy about that.
I don't know. It's a big bike, but having us two on it would make it look like BMX, I think.
Mate, you're going to love that.
I am. I'm looking very much forward to it.
My challenge with bikes is, clearly everyone knows I love my push bikes, and I love motorbikes. I love bike motorsport.
Yep.
And I love, you look at these and there's some beautiful, beautiful machines here. I love the engineering about them, and they fascinate me, but they terrify me. And I was always not really allowed a motorbike. A bit like you, my mum and dad were like, you're not having a motorbike. And the reason that when my eldest brother went to university.
Yep.
He went and bought a motorbike, and on the way home from picking up the motorbike, got knocked off it by a bus and got put in hospital, smashed his legs up. And the story goes, my mum gets a phone call from the hospital saying, "Oh, Mr. Greaves, we've got your son in intensive care. He's fallen off a motorbike."
Right.
And my mum went, "Well, it's not my son. He doesn't have a motorbike." And they went, "Well, he doesn't have one now, but he did this morning and he fell off it."
No.
And my dad, when I left home, he kind of said, "Look, enjoy your life, go out and be successful.
Yeah.
2 rules for you: break either of them, I'll never speak to you again. Get a girl pregnant before you're married, and buy a motorbike." I'm like, "Oh, I won't be able to motorbike then." So, and then Tracy's not. But I love them. They're amazing things.
Yeah.
And I've had some adventures on motorbikes, but just never riding them. When I was at university, a couple of my mates were going down to Bike Le Mans.
Yep.
And we were in the student union bar like the Thursday, and they went, "Oh, we're going to Le Mans at the weekend." And me and my girlfriend at the time were like, "Oh, wow, that's cool." And they said, "Do you want to come?" So we literally cobbled together some leathers and borrowed a helmet from some friends. And the next thing was sat pillion on the back of these bikes going down to Bike Le Mans. It was an amazing weekend. And I remember we got to the campsite. We had tents and everything, so loads of kit on the bike, tank bags and rucksacks and everything.
Yeah.
Get there, set the tents up. And then me and John go on one bike, I'm pillion, we go off to the supermarket to get the supplies.
Right.
Go around the supermarket, totally forget we're on a bike.
What, you got like a trolley full of beer?
Yeah, we had 2 5-litre barrels of wine,
Yeah.
2 24-can slabs of beer,
Oh my goodness.
breadsticks, everything. And we walked out, we're like, "Oh no." And we had like about 10k to get back to the campsite. So I'm on the back of this bike with a slab of beer on each knee, 5 litres of wine in my rucksack, another one on the tank bag. It was just, and he didn't drop it. It was great.
Well, of course you wouldn't, because it's very important goods that you...
Exactly, yeah.
So
and on the way back, we'd had such a long weekend, I fell asleep on the back of the bike.
Wow.
On the motorway, yeah.
That's a story and a half.
You know, when you sort of woke up and went, "Oh my God, I'm on the back of a motorbike. We're doing like 100 miles an hour or whatever it is." Fast asleep. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, so I do love my bikes.
Wow. Okay, so you've probably done more miles on a bike, but on the back of a bike than I have on the front of a
I know,
bike.
yeah.
That's a long way. Yeah, because it's quite, getting to Le Mans in a car is quite a long drive,
It
isn't
was
it?
a long time, yeah. And then another one, a different friend, we went down to the south of France. I was living in Paris at the time, and I had a week off, and my mate came over. We got the TGV down to Nice.
Yep.
Got a bus out from Nice and just found a campsite, a place called Villeneuve-Loubet, which is just near Cannes.
Okay.
And we were in the campsite, and the next morning, these 2 Germans turned up on these 2 big motorbikes. There was a ZX-10,
Yep.
and the other guy had exactly the same bike as Tom Cruise had in Top Gun, the 900 Ninja
yes.
Kawasaki. And we got to know them, and they said, "Oh, you know, I won't even try and murder a German accent for this. Oh, we're going to Monaco tomorrow to drive around the circuit.
Yeah.
Do you want to come?" And we're like, "Well, yeah, but we literally got..." He said, "Oh, you don't need a helmet in France." And I'm like, "Well, I think we do." So I went to the local bike motor scooter hire shop and hired a couple of helmets.
Right.
And we went on the back of these bikes and we went through the tunnel and did the whole Monaco thing. Absolutely amazing.
Wow.
And we were coming back, and we were late. We had to drop these helmets off before the shop shut, and we were late. And we were at a set of traffic lights, big long straight in front, no cars around. There's 2 Germans talking to each other in German, and I said to my mate, "I think we best hold on here, mate, because I have a feeling we're going to go quite quickly off the line." And he absolutely floored it, and wheel in the air, and we were in third gear.
You guys on the back.
Yeah, we were in third gear before the front wheel hit the ground. I was on the back of the ZX-10. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Absolutely unbelievable. So they're my bike stories. I love my bikes.
Well, we've got to continue that then. I think I do need to come pick you up on my bike. I'm not going to be wheeling everywhere. It'll be a more... Oh, actually, down where you live in Goodwood, I mean, they're beautiful roads, beautiful scenery. That'd be a nice place to ride a bike, I think.
Yeah. I mean, but motorsport, I know you're a big MotoGP fan. I think that, and I'd love to go to the TT as well. That's one of my...
That's just about to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
Next
so, yeah.
week or
They've got all the is it the North Coast 200s and stuff?
Yes.
The lead up races.
Yep.
But yeah, I've never... Have you never been to the TT?
I've never been to the TT. It's been something that I've always wanted to go to.
Yeah.
But I've almost been a little bit scared.
Yeah.
Because even watching it on the TV, I'll be hiding behind the sofa.
Yeah.
So maybe that should be something that we do together.
Yeah,
and we can hold each other's hands.
That would be cool. Well, someone told me once it takes you about 5 or 6 bikes going past before your brain is kind of synced in with how fast they're going. you know how you try and pan with a camera?
Yep.
Your brain can't pan with your eyes just watching them go past because they're going so fast. Well, I'd love to go. Yeah.
It's just, I mean, they are a different kettle of fish, but a lot of them cross over as well. A lot of them do circuit racing and this road racing, which is just amazing, because I know people like Valentino Rossi went out there probably 10 years ago now or something, and he was saying like McGuinness, he was just like, you're just a different, you're different gravy, like what you do on a bike.
I think it's a bit like, so circuit bike riding to Isle of Man TT is a little bit like circuit car racing to rallying.
It is, yeah.
In a way.
Very much, yeah.
Tarmac rallying, because they're so committed, and it's amazing, really. And let's have a chat about tyres. Obviously, we're here with Michelin, and they're the big sponsor of this show.
Yeah.
A bike tyre, when you see those bikes cranked over, I just don't understand how that's possible.
It is ridiculous. On the MotoGP bikes, as you say, that they are the headline sponsor there, and it boggles your mind when you see pictures of it, but when you actually see it in real life and how committed these guys are, hanging off the bike as far as they can to get it tanked over as far as it will go, and the tyre just holds out. I can't imagine what that would feel like and how much commitment you'd need to do before you got near the edge of grip. But yeah, it's just... And
you watch how the techniques that those bike riders use has evolved over time, because they kind of stick their leg out like cock their leg as they're going in, completely off the bike.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's all to do with balance and stuff.
Yes.
So when they crank it over, it's like...
It's ridiculous, and the smaller riders have to literally climb off the bike, because obviously you've got all that centrifugal force. The bike naturally, like a bicycle, anything, wants to be upright, doesn't it? So to get it to, even though they're light, extremely lightweight compared to a normal road bike, they've still got a lot of force to get it down on its side. You just, and like you said, I think they call it the Rossi dangle, the leg he started with.
Was that him, was it?
It was him that sort of started using it regularly in racing, and then everyone started copying it. But it's quite an interesting... There's a lot of... there's a bit of science behind it, but there's also speculation that it stops people coming down the inside. And you see a lot of MotoGP races these days, because it's getting really close to racing, and every weekend it's a different winner. And so when you've got bikes that are that competitive and they're always in a big group, if you got your leg dangling out the side, it kind of makes the person behind double think about diving down the inside. It's almost like, don't come down here, you got your elbows out. But it does, definitely helps, I think, stabilize the bike. Also a bit of extra aero, like it's like a windbreak, isn't it?
Yeah.
But fascinating. I'd love to get you to a MotoGP.
Yeah, I'd love to, because I grew up very near Donington Park, and the what was then the British Motorcycle Grand Prix always was at Donington Park.
Yep.
And I remember I used to go every year, and you'd see back then I was a big fan of people like Kevin Schwantz and Randy Mamola and Wayne Rainey and those types of guys.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Kevin Schwantz coming out of the corner with like dark lines coming off of both wheels. He had like both wheels drifting.
Yeah.
And it was one of those memories as a kid that just stuck in my head. And then a couple of years ago, I was at a Goodwood dinner, and Kevin Schwantz was there.
Wow.
And I went up to him, and I'm normally quite cool at Goodwood dinners, and you don't go up to people. But I said, I just want to come up and say hello, and I saw you when I was a kid, and I just thought you were really cool, and it's amazing to meet you.
Yeah.
And then last year when I drove the NASCAR, I was getting changed into my race suit in the drivers club next to Kevin Schwantz getting into his leathers, and we were having a chat. I was like, this is just the most surreal thing ever.
Yeah.
But he's just such a cool guy. But I remember my sister, that it was Kevin Schwantz and Randy Mamola, I think they were flying home, and they were getting from East Midlands Airport, they were getting a shuttle down to, I guess, Heathrow or somewhere to get the international flight.
Yep.
And my sister at the time worked on the desk at British Midland. And they came up, and she's like small talk, chatting away, and she had no idea who they were, none at all. Right? And she's like, oh, have you been to the bike racing at Donington? And they're like, yeah, we have. Yeah, and one of them had won the race.
Oh, that is amazing.
And then someone came up to her, and you do realise that's the guy who won the races.
They probably loved that, though.
Yeah, she had no idea. But no, so I would love to go to a MotoGP race. I've seen your social coverage of it and stuff, and it looks like you get really close access. I guess you get special access because of who you're with. But what's it like from a a spectator point of view compared with, I guess you get way better access than a Formula One race or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, I'm lucky that I've had paddock passes for the last couple of years at the races that I go to most of the time. So then you do get really good access, but there's a lot of people in the paddock and it's not as hard to get that. But even if you're just a, let's say, regular spectator, there is definitely more access. There's more viewing points. Everything's a bit less strict. And it just feels great. And riders also tend to go out of the paddock, and there's lots to see and get closer. They do a lot. Dorna Sports do a lot to bring the riders closer to the audience and the crowd. I think especially after Rossi retired a couple of years ago, they're trying very hard to sort of bring everyone a bit closer, because I think that dented the championship and the coverage a bit with someone like him just leaving.
He's a legend, though.
He is a legend, yeah, isn't he? He's a legend everywhere.
Quite a handy peddler as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like pretty handy behind the wheel of a car.
He is. I think they finished second at the recent GT race at Brands Hatch GP in a BMW. And but yeah, I'd love to meet. I've never met Rossi. I've met a lot of the riders, but I've never met him. But I know I'd just be like, I wouldn't say anything. I'd just be like,
I got another Goodwood story about Rossi. So when he came to Goodwood the other year.
Yes.
So and he rode his motorbike into the house through the front door.
Yeah.
I was stood right by the front door and he rode past me. It was amazing, but it happened so quick. I was fumbling to get my camera phone out, and by the time I had, he'd driven past, and that was amazing. And then because he won, I think he'd been at Assen or something that day, and then he'd flown over. He'd won the race, flown over to the Festival of Speed.
Yep.
And he had arrived the night before, because that was the Sunday he drove into the house.
Yep.
And I think it was the Kaiser Chiefs were playing the after-show party, and I'm right on the front row watching the Kaiser Chiefs, and the next thing, Valentino Rossi walks on stage, and he's like on there with and you're thinking, this could only happen at Goodwood, but he's just such a cool guy.
He is, and he reaches so many people. I mean, I remember when I went out to Italy 10 years ago or something, there was posters and pictures of him absolutely everywhere. Public transport, on the street, banners everywhere, in bars. But he's an icon to so many, like Lewis. I know Lewis Hamilton did something with him.
Lando's an amazing video.
Yeah, when they
Rossi on.
Yeah. And I know Lando's a massive Rossi fan, and you can see even Lando gets weak at the knees and you just think all these megastars in other sports idolize him, and he just elevated that sport, and he's just more than just a MotoGP rider, isn't he? He is an icon.
He's probably as close a modern day as you'll ever get to John Surtees.
Yes. Yeah.
So John Surtees, the only person ever to be world champion on two wheels and four.
Yep.
And I know Rossi never raced in Formula One. He has tested a Formula One car.
Yep.
And apparently he was quite good as well.
But can imagine.
He's as close. But the sports are so different in the modern era. Back in the day when John Surtees was doing it, it was a very different landscape. But to think, you have to be as special as Rossi to even get anywhere approaching being able to maybe do that, and still not be able to do it shows you how hard it is to do.
Absolutely.
I wonder, now all the Formula One drivers have got their own number, and that's like because Rossi's 46, you see little stickers on the back of cars all over the place.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it was him, but it seems like he was the first guy to really capture that number as a brand.
Yep.
That and the doctor sticker, I guess. And then it, I know lots of other MotoGP riders have that now, and now all the Formula One drivers have the same number all the time.
Yep.
And Lewis is 4-4 or whatever. But it seems that he just inspired lots of those types of cool things.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, the branding, it's such a brand, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's the yellow, the colour yellow as well. I mean, you still go to a MotoGP race. I mean, I went to one in the beginning of the year, Portimao, which was the first round, and there's still predominantly more yellow in the crowd. There's more yellow merchandise with 46 on it being sold everywhere. And he's not even there, but he's still like, cha-ching.
I met the other but the other riders are like, damn, we got rid of him. He's not even here. And everyone's wearing bloody Valentino Rossi stuff. This is what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no, I think the next thing we're obviously going to have a walk around all these bikes. I mean, this venue, by the way, we're at a place called Tobacco Dock in London. It's just not that far away from the Tower of London and Tower Bridge.
Yep.
It's an amazing venue. I guess it got its name because it used to be where all the tobacco came in.
Yep.
And then the guys were saying last night it went through a phase of being a retail outlet, and now it's kind of an event space. But it's got such a cool vibe.
It has.
We were here last night, as I said, and we having a few drinks and got a preview to the show and could walk around. There's far fewer people last night. and it's just really cool. There's live bands playing. There's the demographic. There's the kids. There's everybody from the age of about 5 to about 85.
Yes.
Male, female, lots of obvious bikers, lots of maybe not so obvious bikers. It's a wicked vibe.
It is definitely something I'd come back to. And obviously by the time this goes out, it's going to be over. But I'd keep an eye out for this show in 2024 because, as you say, even if you don't like your bikes, I mean, some of the bikes are pieces of art. They're not even necessarily bikes.
As I'm not that bike knowledgeable, some of them do look like you probably wouldn't want to ride them. They're literally there to look cool.
Yeah.
Some look like they are there. I mean, there's a beautiful. I guess that must be a race bike. Right?
Yes.
That's very cool.
It is beautiful, isn't it?
It's getting lots of love. That people keep walking in front of the camera, not realizing we're recording a podcast and taking pictures and stuff.
I know. I quite like I quite like the relaxed, relaxed feeling of it. As long as we don't gather a crowd here that completely block the cameras. But no, it's awesome, and I think we should head off, have a good look around.
I think so. I guess that we'll finish off. Big shout out to Michelin again. This is. One of the really exciting things when we brought Michelin on board as title sponsor was exactly for what we're doing now.
Yep.
Was getting access to some really cool events.
Yep.
And also to amazing guests like Vanessa. I mean, it's a bit of a kind of the second half of this podcast, a bit of a letdown after that amazing start, to be honest. But she's so busy. She's got lots and lots of things to do. She needs to go out and sort of, have a look around as we're going to do in a minute.
Yeah.
But this is what we got excited about with Michelin, and hopefully it's the first of many. And each time we come out and do something at an event, we're learning about staging it and filming it, and the logistics, and also for us the presenting. It's when we're just on our own in podium place, it's quite easy to just focus and get it done. Here, there's so much distraction going on, and people taking photographs, and it's really cool.
It is
really cool.
Yeah. So if you see us, I've one eye's been that direction and one eye's been at you most of the time, because it's like,
I mean, we've got Patrick off camera making sure that no one walks in front of the cameras or knocks them over. But it's been very cool. So we look forward to hearing more about your bike. I know you're very excited about that. The guys who aren't motorcyclists, if you watch The Long Way Down or The Long Way Round with Charlie Borman and Ewan McGregor, that was the bike an older version of that bike.
Exactly. Yeah. That just brilliant. I mean, it's I haven't got much experience on other bikes, but when I speak to people like my good friend Chris, Baron von Grumble, who we will have on here.
Definitely want to get on a podcast.
Might be a few bleeps on that episode, but maybe one or two.
I'll get Patrick to dust off his bleep machine.
Yeah. He swears by, he swears by the GS. He's actually got one himself. He went around literally the whole of Europe and Eastern Europe last year. I forget how many miles, but it was like 3 weeks, and he went forever, just all the way around, exploring on his bike. And he's always had GSs for the past few years, and he loves them. And he just says they're a bike that literally do everything. Comfortable. They also fit the bigger frame. Well, they fit all frames, but that's the main problem that I have, or you would have on a motorbike, is a lot of these lovely looking sports bikes are designed for people like Marc Marquez, who's 5'6" on a good day.
It's funny, when we were recording the podcast at Cafe in the Machine, Becky, Queen Bee, turned up on her new Ducati. Well, she got it in December, her Ducati.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing. But you look at it and you go, that's going to be really uncomfortable for me, because you're crouched over. You must get a lot of pressure on your arms.
Yep.
Because so sports bikes always look great.
Yep.
But whether or not I'd want to do a long distance on one, that's a completely different thing altogether.
Yes.
But yeah, the big tourer bike. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Guys, if you've got ideas of venues or events that you want us to take the podcast to, that would be amazing. If you can make sure that if you listen to this on one of the podcast platforms, give us a review, give us a star rating, follow us. If you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. The YouTube channel's growing, all of the following on all the podcast platforms is growing, but those reviews and subs help so much.
Yeah.
And it will mean that we can just expand the audience and do more things. So if you could do that, it would be amazing. Let us know, as I said, any ideas for guests or venues, or if there's a cool event that you know of that you think we could take the podcast to, that'd be really cool.
Absolutely.
And keep watching. But for now, I think we're going to go and enjoy the rest of the bike show.
Absolutely.
It's been wicked. Hope you enjoyed that one. Big thanks to Vanessa again. for her time, and a big thanks to Michelin for the invite to the bike show. And cheers, Bibedden. Legend. We'll see you on the next one. Easy now.
Easy now.